It's the Euro Yard, and today, for the first time, we're going to bring our yearly reviews of each Eurovision Song Contest into YouTube video form. If you're interested in our evaluations of any of the contests from the 1950s, go to our website at theeuroyard.com. Anyway, let's take a look at the contest in 1960, which was won by France. We'll get into that. Starting out with some basic info about this year's Eurovision. It was the 5th Eurovision Song Contest. This also happened to be the first one which took place in the United Kingdom, in London, on March 29th, 1960. There were 13 countries taking part, which was the most so far, and Norway made its debut appearance. Finally, just to explain the voting system from this time, but which by the way changed many times before we settled on the scoring that we would recognize today. Each country had 10 jurors, and they each cast one vote for their favorite song. That's it. No rankings, no douze point, just one juror, one vote. So keep in mind that what you're about to see are our rankings after watching and scoring each song on various criteria, which include overall impression, engagement, vocals, both overall and range, composition, lyrics, and staging. We try to drill deep and evaluate various aspects of a song's success or failure to get a true reading of where a song should rank. We also create an all-time scoreboard. We rank every song, and the top 10 gets points using the 12, 10, 8-to-1 basis. They pile up every year, and we'll show you at the end. Let's get into the songs. To begin, in last place, 13th, we have the Netherlands and Rudy Karel's song, Wat een Geluk, which means what luck in English. Sorry to say, I wasn't very impressed with this song as we look at the notes. The vocals were pretty weak, it just wasn't for me. We had it ranked 13th, but the juries did one better than that, sliding it into 12th place. And in 12th place, Italy's song Romantica, sung by Renata Russell. It did better with juries than we would have given it, but at that, it only finished in 8th place. As you'll see throughout the decades, we will normally favor Italy, but our main issue with this song is that it was dull. The vocals weren't terrible, but it was just so uninteresting that I couldn't get into it, which helped it land near the bottom. Just outside our top 10, in 11th place, we had Luxembourg with Camilo Felgen's song, So Long Vis Du Do Bast, which translates to As Long As You Are There. I didn't hate it, but I didn't love it either. The jury clearly didn't like it, as this song came in dead last in the voting. My issues were that despite the fact that he sung fine, there was really nothing new or exciting about it. It was just another love song in a growing tradition of love songs. Though he sang this in Luxembourgish, and I give him credit for that. Into the top 10, we have Sweden and Alla Andra for Varann, which means everyone else gets one, performed by Siv Malmkvist. She gets 1 point for Sweden on the all-time scoreboard, and this was definitely one of the more interesting and upbeat songs, and I think she sang fine. So put it together, and while it was still towards the bottom of our rankings, it wasn't bad. In fact, it being interesting was one of the reasons it got any points at all. In 9th place, getting 2 points from us, we had Belgium. This was Fou Leclerc's song Mon amour pour toi, which is to say, My Love for You. We rated him a little lower than the juries. We gave him 9th, while they gave him 5th. In earlier listens of the Eurovision Song Contest, I wasn't a huge fan of his, but I've come to appreciate him a little bit more. Vocally, this performance wasn't bad, and it left an average impression with me. Where this song struggled is that it was another love song in a sea of them, which is a general criticism that I have of this formative era of Eurovision. A lot of the songs, frankly, came across the same. Nevertheless, I rewarded his efforts with 2 points. Austria gets 3 points, or 8th place on our list. The song's title translates in English to You Fascinated Me So Much from German. This song, the jury gave this 7th place in 1960, so we don't disagree with the placement very much. The lyrics were maybe the most interesting thing about this song, and I would say cute is a nice word for them, but the end is very pointed, that everyone knew how taken the singer was, except the person that he sang about. Pretty decent song. Now to 7th place on our list, we take you to Germany with Win Hoop's song Bonne Nuit, Ma Chérie, which translates to Good Night, Darling. We had a bit of a disagreement with the jury, who put the song in 4th while we had it at number 7. Look, I think the song was decent, not bad, and he sang it well. I didn't have it higher because it was just a little too slow to the point where it started to drag. That wasn't so much of a problem for people listening back in 1960, but coming back to it in 2024, the slow tempo just didn't age well. We have Denmark in 6th place, garnering 5 points. Kati Bodker's song was called Det var en yndig tid, which means it was a lovely time. Did it stand out a ton? No, but she staged it well at the time, and she brought props. I thought it was one of the less dull songs of the evening, in a contest where most songs probably were a little boring, to be honest. Her singing was decent as well, and add it all up, and you get 6th place for Denmark. We gave Monaco a top 10 finish for the first time with François Degel's song Ce Soir-là, which means that night. I thought this was one of the better compositions of the 1960 contest, and he sang it well. It's not really a surprise that he came in 3rd place in reality, so maybe 5th place seems like we're underrating him a little bit, but as I mentioned with Denmark, most songs were a little on the slower and duller side. And while I wouldn't say this was exactly dull, it definitely had points where I wish he would have picked it up a little. Overall, though, a respectable effort for Monaco. We gave Norway 4th place in our rankings, and so did the jury. In their first appearance at Eurovision, we had Nora Brokstedt with Voi Voi, which translates to wow wow or whoa whoa, depending on who you ask. This was definitely the most fun song on the whole card, and it was also the most original. There was nothing else really like it, which set it up to do well. What held it back in our view was that the singing was just average, though she still locked in 7 points on the all-time scoreboard. Now we get to the medals. In 3rd place, we had the contest's winner, France's Pillibi, performed by Jacqueline Boyer. She had a pretty voice, and the song was original, if not a little grating, to be honest, but that's probably to be expected when looking back to this era of music. And let me tell you, if you think some 60s music is irritating, just give it a few years, and you might not be able to make it through a few of the future contests. This was an overall good performance, though I wouldn't say it was my favorite song. This winning effort fit the same pattern as almost all the other songs that won before it, maybe with the exception of Refrain. This song was safe. It wasn't bold or over the top, the vocals weren't huge, and it was cute and harmless. A song like this was made for that era of Eurovision, but as for us, we think 3rd place is appropriate. In 2nd place, pulling down 10 points, is the UK's Brian Johnson with Looking High, High, High. He sang the hell out of this song, and it was the 2nd best vocal performance of the night on our scorecard. The juries gave him 2nd place as well, which tells you that just about everyone left with a good impression of it, and so did we. Finally, in our winner's spot is a song that we think deserved a lot better. Cielo y Terra, or Heaven and Earth, by Switzerland's Anita Traversi. This only came in 8th, and I guess you had to be there, but I'm not okay with this. She sang wonderfully, and I bought into this performance almost right from the start. It was a nice composition, and maybe the lyrics were a little basic in places, but I couldn't find a better singer that night. Her big finish was stirring, and yes, she deserved way better. So those were our rankings of the songs. Now for the wrap-up. This was a decent contest, not especially high on our all-time rankings, but it wasn't bad. The United Kingdom has never hosted a bad contest, and that still applies to this day. Again, I found most songs a little more dull than average, but it's also clear that the quality of the show is starting to evolve. We're still in what I would consider the first era of Eurovision stages, but the UK will innovate more in the near future. Going deeper into our scorecard, we'll briefly review where certain songs landed in our main scoring categories. So first, in terms of overall impression, this time it matches our top 3, Switzerland, United Kingdom, and France. Next, in our engagement category, which is to say our measure of how interesting or not interesting a song was, we gave Norway the top spot, followed by Switzerland and then the United Kingdom. Moving on, we have 2 categories for measuring the vocals, and combining those scores, we get Switzerland with the best performance, and then again matching our top 3, they're followed by the UK and France. Finally, we combine the scores from the composition and lyrics categories and get quality and originality from Norway first, followed then by Monaco and France in 3rd. Finally, what you've all been waiting for, we land on our all-time scoreboard through 1960. Again, you can see our rankings of past contests at theeuroyard.com. Switzerland is still the leader here now with 57 points, followed by Italy at 42, despite blanking this year, and then the Dutch are there at 33. The UK is starting to rise up the board to 26 points, and spoiler alert, they will eventually overtake everyone. Every country that's done Eurovision to this point has gotten on the board. As for where they go from here, be sure you subscribe to this YouTube channel to see our next review, as well as current Eurovision content. And remember, that website is theeuroyard.com.